2 days ago, Microsoft cut 4,800 jobs. 2.1% of its entire global workforce, gone in a single announcement. Xbox got hit hardest. 3,200 gaming jobs eliminated across the fiscal year. 1/5 of the entire Xbox division wiped out. 4 gaming studios spun off entirely. The Xbox CEO sent her team a memo that said, and this is a direct quote, "Our business today is not healthy." That same morning, Microsoft confirmed it plans to spend $190 billion on AI infrastructure and data centers in 2026 alone. Fire 4,800 people. Spend $190 billion on servers. Those two things happened on the same day, from the same company, and the reason they're connected is the actual story here. By the end of this you'll understand exactly why Microsoft's stock has fallen 30% in 9 months and lost $1.2 trillion in market value, even as the company is spending more money than it ever has in its entire history. So let's actually get into it. Microsoft has been cutting people for over a year now. In spring and summer of 2025, they cut more than 15,000 jobs globally, the largest reductions in over a decade. In April 2026, they offered voluntary retirement to 7% of their entire US workforce, which is about 9,000 people, and more than 30% of eligible employees took it. And now yesterday, another 4,800. That's somewhere north of 25,000 jobs at Microsoft in roughly 18 months. The official explanation from Amy Coleman, Microsoft's chief people officer who has been at the company for 27 years, was that the way technology is built, deployed, and used is transforming faster than at any point in her time there. She also said the jobs being cut are not being replaced by AI, but that AI is changing how work gets done. That second sentence is doing a lot of work. Because whether or not specific eliminated roles are being directly replaced by a chatbot on a one-to-one basis, the money that would have paid those salaries is being redirected somewhere. And that somewhere is $190 billion worth of data centers. The same balance sheet. Different line items. Let's talk about what $190 billion actually means. Microsoft's total revenue for its entire fiscal year 2025 was $279 billion. So they're spending 68 cents out of every dollar they made last year on AI infrastructure build out this year. For comparison, the entire GDP of Greece is around $240 billion. Microsoft is spending more than the economic output of an entire country, in a single year, building out the physical infrastructure to run AI workloads. The spending breaks down into data centers, the physical buildings and land they sit on, the servers and GPUs inside them, the power infrastructure to run them, and the cooling systems to stop them from melting. NVIDIA is the main beneficiary of the server spending. Microsoft is one of NVIDIA's largest customers and has been buying H100 and H200 chips at scale for 2 years. Those chips cost between $25,000 and $40,000 each. Microsoft has been ordering them by the hundreds of thousands. And then in June they committed another $2.5 billion specifically to a new AI implementation unit, 6,000 employees whose entire job is to help enterprise customers actually integrate AI products into their businesses. So the headline is 4,800 fired. The actual math is 4,800 fired, 6,000 AI implementation people hired, $190 billion spent on infrastructure. This is a company performing a very specific kind of surgery on itself, cutting the parts of the business that aren't growing and redirecting every dollar toward the bet that is supposed to define the next decade. The question investors are currently screaming is whether the bet is working. Here's where it gets complicated. Microsoft's cloud division, Azure, grew 33% in its most recent quarter. That's genuinely strong. AI services on Azure are growing fast and the enterprise customers are real. LinkedIn also had accelerating growth. Those are the good numbers. The bad numbers are everywhere else. Windows operating system licenses are declining because PC sales are soft. Surface devices, Microsoft's hardware line, have been struggling for years. And Xbox, which just lost 1/5 of its workforce, had revenue that was already shrinking before the cuts. The Xbox CEO's memo didn't bury the problem. She said margins in the gaming division are running 3 to 10 times lower than comparable platform and publishing businesses. That's not a slight underperformance. That's a division that structurally costs too much relative to what it generates, in a market that has shifted underneath it. Gaming is one of the most competitive entertainment categories on Earth right now. PlayStation has strong exclusives and a loyal hardware base. Nintendo just launched Switch 2. Steam dominates PC gaming. Roblox and Fortnite eat enormous amounts of gaming time from the exact demographic Xbox wants. And Xbox's big swing, the $69 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard in 2023, was supposed to give them the content library to compete. Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Candy Crush, Diablo. The biggest franchises in gaming, all under one roof. That acquisition took 3 years to close because regulators in the UK, EU, and US all tried to block it at various points. The FTC sued to stop it. The UK's CMA initially blocked it. The EU launched its own investigation. Microsoft spent hundreds of millions in legal fees and nearly 2 years of executive time fighting those regulatory battles before the deal finally closed in October 2023. It was the most expensive, most legally contested gaming acquisition in history. And the thesis behind all of it was that content was the moat. If you own the games people want to play, you own the platform they'll play them on. Game Pass, Microsoft's subscription service, would become the Netflix of gaming. Pay one monthly fee, access everything including every new Call of Duty on day one. It was a genuinely smart strategy in theory. But even Activision's library hasn't reversed the fundamental problem, which is that Xbox as a hardware platform has been losing the console wars to PlayStation for years, and losing badly. In the most recent console generation, PlayStation 5 has outsold Xbox Series X by a ratio of somewhere between 3-1 and 4-1 depending on the quarter. When you're getting outsold 3-1 on hardware, you're also getting outsold on software, subscriptions, and the entire ecosystem that profits come from. So Microsoft's gaming division is a business that spent $69 billion on content, is still losing the hardware war, and is running margins far below where they need to be. The 3,200 job cuts and the 4 studio spin-offs are the logical conclusion of that math, not a surprise. What makes it jarring is the timing against the AI spending. The message being sent to every Xbox employee who got a termination notice yesterday is essentially, the gaming business doesn't generate enough return to justify your salary at a moment when we need every available dollar pointed at AI. That's not cruel. It's just capital allocation. But it's an unusually visible version of it because of how big the numbers on both sides are. Now here's the part of the Microsoft story that investors are actually worried about, because it's not the gaming cuts. Everyone expected Xbox to eventually face a reckoning. That's not a surprise. The thing that tanked Microsoft's stock 30% over 9 months is the fear about AI eating Microsoft's core business. Microsoft built one of the most profitable enterprise software businesses in history on 2 products, Windows and Office. Windows runs on over 1 billion devices. Microsoft 365, which is Office plus cloud services plus Teams, is how hundreds of millions of people do their jobs every single day. Those 2 product lines are the reason Microsoft has been one of the most valuable companies on Earth for decades. They're reliable, recurring, sticky revenue that companies pay for whether or not they're using every feature and whether or not the product improves significantly year over year. CFOs sign multi-year Microsoft enterprise agreements because switching costs are so high that even a modestly inferior product rarely justifies the migration. That stickiness is the moat. And AI is a direct threat to it. If AI can write code better than most developers, what happens to the demand for GitHub Copilot as a paid product, versus just building that functionality into every AI product for free? If AI agents can eventually manage your calendar, draft your emails, summarize your meetings, and execute tasks across apps without a human touching anything, what is the long-term value of a Microsoft 365 subscription versus a single AI subscription that does all of those things better? Microsoft is trying to answer that question by becoming the AI platform itself. Copilot is now embedded across Teams, Word, Excel, Outlook, and basically every other Microsoft product. The strategy is to make AI inseparable from Microsoft software so that the risk of AI displacing Microsoft software becomes instead an argument for paying more for Microsoft software with AI built in. On July 1st, Microsoft raised prices on its entire commercial Microsoft 365 suite to reflect the added AI capabilities. That's the thesis made real. AI is now a premium feature inside the product you already pay for, not a replacement for it. Whether enterprise customers accept that framing or eventually decide they'd rather pay one AI subscription and not a bundled Microsoft suite is the bet that the $190 billion infrastructure spend is designed to win. The broader industry context is that Microsoft is not alone in this trade. AI was cited as the reason for 40% of all tech layoffs in May 2026, up from 7% in January. The tech sector as a whole has cut over 123,000 jobs this year. Meta cut people. Amazon cut people. Google cut people. All of them are simultaneously spending hundreds of billions on AI infrastructure. The entire industry is performing the same surgery at the same time, cutting the headcount attached to what used to work and redirecting it toward what they hope will work next. The companies that get the timing right, that cut the right things at the right moment and land the AI bet before the infrastructure spend becomes unsustainable, are going to come out of this as the dominant platforms of the next decade. The companies that get the timing wrong are going to have a very expensive, very embarrassing pile of data centers and a stock chart that makes their investors miserable. Microsoft's own stock chart already looks like the second option. Down 30% in 9 months. Worst first-half performance since 2022. The AI spending hasn't converted yet into the kind of revenue growth that would justify what they're paying to build it. Q4 earnings are going to tell you whether the Azure AI growth rate is accelerating fast enough to close that gap. If it is, the stock recovers and the 4,800 people who lost their jobs yesterday become a footnote in a comeback story. If it isn't, this week's cuts will look less like a strategic reset and more like the beginning of something bigger. Rise and Ruin will be watching the earnings call.